Hey, how are you doing? My name is Derrian Bruiser Carter, and welcome to 1v1, a sports interview series where I go one on one with various guests to discuss notable news in their personal and professional lives. And so, without further ado, let's get the first episode underway. Enjoy.
You're the last one. Complete the mission.
Before we start, I like to ask these questions before we get into the interview. What song or movie would you use to describe your life during the pandemic, and why?
Oh, wow. Uh, I tell you, what song and movie? That's interesting. I guess I hadn't thought about that. That's a hard one. That's a hard one. Because I think about where we're at, and sometimes I think that we get in a point of pandemic and all we see is red gloom going across the screens of television.
Yes, sir.
And you know, ultimately, we are all blessed to be where we are today because there have been lives that have been lost, and I'm blessed. If that would be wrong, that I would say that I'm blessed because I have lost family members and friends, and some of my friends' parents, and that's transitioned on because of this pandemic, this coronavirus. So I'm blessed. That's at the end of the day. What movie? Wow. Let's see. Me and my wife we've watched a couple of movies during this. But I don't know if I would say either one of them would represent what the pandemic represents. But I guess, because we are in a season of election, I say coming to America, we're in a season of elections and voting. And I think that, it's important that we understand the importance of voting. I know that the prince came over in the movie, but, we are all kings and princes. And I hope that we're all utilizing our power to vote. Really big on that, and we're actually trying to get our team to that point where we're 100% ready. And those are things that we're using for our accountability and give our team points during this time right now during the pandemic. But we want to make sure we're doing that. But I'd probably say coming to America. How about that?
Yes, sir. And I'm sorry to hear about the losses in your life due to the pandemic.
Well, it's a homegoing celebration as well, and the time that we got a chance to spend with our family. Quite a few coaches have experienced it as well, and some of our players on our team. So in our program, so we just been praying and uplifting each other, and enjoyed the times that we've had with those that we spent, and that's tough. But we do know that life's got to continue to move forward, and those people that were in those lives want that to happen as well.
Yes, sir. Who is Tim Bowens?
Well, I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm a man that try to live a life that's pleasing to my Maker as much as I can. I'm somebody who try to live by a sense of integrity. I try my best to live by my core values. I try my best to be the best friend that I can be. There's a lot of who I am. I'm a son. I'm a brother. Those things probably more so define me than what I do. Coaching is what I do. But I believe that, sometimes you can get that flipped and you think that's who you are. And you, if you're not coaching, your identity is gone. So I believe that there's much more to Tim Bowens, and I'm still discovering myself, and trying to make sure that I'm developing as a person, as a leader, as a father, with my children and a husband. So that's who I am.
When CAU announced that classes were moving to remote learning due to COVID-19, how did you adjust as a coach?
Well, we use the term. One of my coaches use the term all the time. You adapt, adjust, and you overcome. And I think when you're not on campus, on grounds, and you don't so-called put your hands on your team, your program, from the standpoint of being visibly seen, and now you have to do it remotely, it makes it challenging, and to a degree. But I believe in creativity and being innovative as we can. during this time is critical. I think you got to make sure that you're maximizing their full potential where you're at and how you're doing it. Getting workouts to them where they're at across the country, getting in contact with them as far as checking on academics. We have accountability teams and things that we do to communicate to our young men now, and they're competing right now. It's just not on the field, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
They're classroom as far as not just so much against each other, but competing to the standard. And our standard is being totally committed to excellence, being the best version of yourself you can be. And we keep points, on things like voter registration, A's and B's on tests,
Mm-hmm.
having a workstation, you taking pictures of it and showing it to us. If you're doing community service out there where you're at home right now. So there's a lot of things that we're doing. There's community boot camps across, even in Atlanta right now. So our guys can go and be a part of those things to continue to be active. And I'm doing it myself as a coach. I'm making sure I'm trying to be active and be out here. You probably see people out back there, young ladies back here behind me, training. But for me, I think that, during this time, you have to be creative and innovative and try to help those that you coach and those that you mentor and develop to make sure that they're maximizing their full potential. Because you do have some institutions in our conference that are on campus, they're on grounds right now, and they're training. They're getting ahead. So you competitive advantage to take off and go too far. You got to make sure you're being on top of it as best you can and helping your guys develop and to grow where they're at based on what you can do right now. So, and we know Atlanta's been a hot spot, so we have to be very careful, use all of our guidelines and everything that we do. And a lot of guys at home that are training with trainers and training with individuals. And on top of that, going to class and probably about 85%, we're probably a little bit over 85% of our guys are working right now as well. So, and some of them have taken on that, that I don't want to say burden, but some of them have taken on that task of helping mom at home and mom and dad, but a lot of them just mom, to be honest with you. So we've been trying to make sure that we've given them some balance in the process as we have an opportunity to talk to them academically over meetings and stuff. So just trying to develop them best way we can remotely.
Mm-hmm. And like you said, your student athletes were posting their workspace on social media, and I noticed that when I was on social media as well. Did you have input in that trend, or did the players come up with that idea?
We did, because we're trying to come up with ways to get them the opportunity to get points in our accountability teams. Our team is basically split up in 4 teams, and those 4 teams, I don't remember all the names. There's like Team ATL, Team CAU, Team something, so we have like 4 teams. And those teams, there's a coach that's responsible, or coaches responsible for those teams. And part of one of the ways for them to gain points was, as coaches, we came up with the idea of having a workstation. Coach Vernon, one of our coaches, he came with the idea of them having a workstation and posting a workstation and their calendars, basically showing a typical, what we call a block schedule. Basically means that, what does your day look like? And so if you send us your block schedule or your calendar, and we can kind of see your weekly schedule, because we want them to kind of get on a set schedule. I think one of the hardest things right now is as young men and young women across the country who's doing remote right now at CAU, it's hard to get on a set schedule. And that's one thing I think your success, if you have some consistency. So if we can give them some consistency going forward, I think that helps them. So we want to, if they take pictures and send us of their block schedule or their calendar, what that looks like, we also give them point for that as well.
Yeah, I like it. I like the creativity.
Mm.
Before the Southern Intercollegiate Athletic Conference announced the suspension of fall sports due to COVID, did you feel you and your team were going to play this year?
We were prepared. I think we were working on return to play. Our athletic director, Dr. Jalen Dawson, did a phenomenal job of getting the subcommittee across campus together. That entailed everybody. I mean, from every facet on campus, and we discussed a lot of things in detail of how we were going to bring back our student athletes, because it's a little bit different. You're talking about football. That's a lot of contact sport. How are you going to do that? How we're going to practice? not only how were we going to practice, but how we were going to enter the building, how we were going to exit the building, how we were going to sit in meetings, just as you see in the classrooms across the country, how we were going to sit in the meetings, watch our videos, and how we were going to do that limited together, but also how we were going to do Zooms for the position meeting and also for the team meetings and so forth, and what spaces we were going to be able to utilize and what spaces we were not going to be able to utilize, and how we were going to be able to train them. Training them went through workouts, being outside, and also rotating and cleaning in between and sanitizing. How do we rotate? 3 groups: one on the field, one under the undercover pavilion, one in the weight room, and you're not getting no more than 16 in a group or 15 in a group because your space, that's about to be socially distanced inside. That's probably about the max that you could go. So, we were prepared. We're still working on the preparation for the spring. For if we get the opportunity, we afforded the opportunity to come back in the spring, then we're prepared. So we've started that transition as well, and what that looks like. Who knows? I don't know specifically, but we'll be ready. We'll be ready for as far as our sport is concerned. And it's not just us. It's all of campus. It's all the other sports as well. So. When you're competing, you got to think about, the social distance part. It's hard to do, obviously. And you can't do that, unless you're playing golf, and we don't have golf. So makes it a little different. Tennis can do it. They can do it. There's some sports that can do it. But we have to make sure that we've taken every procedure, every protocol from the CDC, from CAU, from what Dr. French has put in front of us. And, I think that he's done an excellent job as well of getting the campus where it's at right now, and just making sure. I mean, our campus numbers are really good. I think it's been a unique year, a challenging year for a lot of us because you're doing this thing remotely and then academically trying to teach. And you got people on different time zones. You got people across the continent, not just in America, but across the continent as well. And so we try to do things from a sports and from athletic standpoint to try to just reach across the board if we got somebody that's on another time zone as well. So we got some guys out in California, so they're always a little bit on a little different schedule than us. We always try to adjust it to where they can be a part of it as much as we can.
And there were talks about having sports while COVID-19 cases were still rising. How did you ever envision playing football while COVID cases were still rising?
Well, I think that you have to, like I said, you have to prepare for it. And how do you do that? I mean, there's 2 institutions that are still playing right now in Atlanta. We see Georgia Tech and Georgia State. They're still playing right now. They test every day, which there's a lot of things that go into that. The affordability part of it, how they test every day. And when they test, not every day, but when they test every week, and those types of things. And economically, it's a cost. It is a cost. So, and then being able to quarantine, numbers wise, we're not like some of those Division I programs where they have, the 130 on their team, on their roster, and we're a little bit less. We're a little bit less than that as far as our roster. In the past, they probably kept around 75, 80 football players, and now we've kind of upped that number. We went up to about 109, 110. So we're expanding that. We're growing. Still trying to grow our brand, and we're developing our program from the inside out. We got a lot more younger kids than what they've had in the past. So, which makes it a little bit tougher to get in the W column faster. But we believe we're doing it the right way, and we're developing and building it from the ground up. And now we're able to get a little bit more mixed with our JUCO and transfer guys. But as far as the COVID, hey, it's part of what we're dealing with right now, and we look forward to at least having a vaccine in place. So for those who are going to take it, it's there, it's available, and we're prepared either way. It's just the economical part as far as being able to do the test, because there are some conferences that are playing they're doing about 2 a week, COVID screening tests.
And shifting gears from COVID to social issues, after the death of George Floyd, the unarmed Black man who was killed by the police in Minnesota, it seems as if athletes are more empowered to speak out on social issues. Can you describe the importance of being an athlete with a voice as you were a former player yourself?
I tell you, right at this moment it can be a defining moment for our country, for our young men, for CAU, for a lot of things, for Atlanta. I think that we have a great in this arena, and I'm glad to see that those things that are taking place with a lot of them. And there are a lot of people that's called me and said, "Coach, what can I do? How can I make this better?" I've never been a part of that. I didn't know that you had this conversation with your men. I never knew that you had this conversation with your own children at home. Um, and we've had some people step up to the plate and say, you know what, we're going to put our money where our mouth is at. We're going to make sure that we show you that we mean what we say and say what we mean. So we're going to help you in every way we can. And so we've had some people do that, and that's been really good to hear. I think that at this day and age, when everybody's got a platform, on social media, everybody can say something. But who's really being about it? Who's really doing something? And I think ultimately at the end of the day, it starts at home. It starts at home. What are we saying to our children at home? Whether it's any race or any color, what are we teaching our children at home? So that's where it's got to start, I think, ultimately. And I think within our program, we're trying to make sure that we're being the change, and by educating our young men, and not only educating them on the tough things in life, but how we should operate on a day-to-day basis as a young man, as an African-American young man, and how we should not only go about our day-to-day process, but how we can be better and how we can make our sphere and those things that are around us better. And so I want to, I challenge our guys all the time, that, be the best version of yourself that you can be, and make sure we live up to that standard. And man, and we just try to, be the change, be the change. It's not gonna happen overnight. We know that it takes time for these things to take place. I mean, I've had personal things in my life that's happened to me that you don't want any young man to go through, and I don't want my children to go through it. But I did. I was the first black head football coach in high school since segregation in Limestone County, in the state of Alabama. I was the first black head coach in 2003. You would think in 2003 they've had some black coaches,
Yeah.
but it's still a work in progress. But I believe that we've got to change our part within, and some of our players have said it, hey guys, how are we going to try to make change out there if we don't make change with ourselves first, and how we are and who we're trying to become. And some of the seniors said that, Breonte Taylor, Breonte Glover said that. And I think it was very pivotal point for our team to hear that, because if we don't make a change within ourselves and try to be a better version of us and try to make sure that we are helping ourselves and helping our own families and helping our own community first, then we can go out there and help beyond that. So it was great to hear that our young men here in our program saying that. But I think that we're, athletes have a great platform. They have a great platform because, they're blessed to make a lot financially when it comes to the professional sports. So they have a voice when it comes to that. And so I hope that the voice is voice of reason, voice of not only reason, but also voice of wisdom. And I hope it goes beyond just the court and beyond just the fields, that it goes into the lives and into the homes of those who truly listen, because we have some in the country who thinks this is not a good thing. But I think that, it's not a matter of, of just the country, but it's a matter of a group of people who've not been treated fairly at times, and some issues. And I mean, we've seen it in hiring processes and all those things. So, having an equal opportunity is all that we've asked for, and all that we want. And I want to make sure that we are prepared for when these do come, that we're able to excel.
And you said you like how your players reached out to you and talk, being about it rather than talk about it. Did any players potentially reach out to you about potentially peacefully protesting during football games in the spring?
Well, they talked about some of our guys did go down and protest during the during the whole deal when everything was going on. My big thing with them was be safe. Be safe, practice everything that's been asked of you to practice. There are things that we want to make sure we do on our campus. The protests. I want them to make sure they know why they're protesting, where, when, all those things. Don't just go protest because everybody else is protesting. Know why you are protesting. Know what you're standing up for. Know why you're standing up for it. And let's not just do something because everybody else is doing it.
Mm.
And that's been my thing to them. If we go protest, because they went out, and a lot of them did protest back home. I told them, hey, be safe, be careful as you go out in your community and go and protest. Just be safe on that end. So, we're definitely going to do it. Like I said, we're going to do our part. With voter registration, protesting, and also getting out in the community and serving. I think that we can serve our community. And so, how do you protest? Your protesting can be in a lot of ways. It's you standing up for something that you believe in. What do you believe in? And so, let's try to find out what that is deep down within us, instead of just following the crowd. So make sure you know why, and let's go do it the right way. So if we come back on campus, part of things we do on campus, we clean up our campus. That, to me, that's a stand. We don't want a dirty campus.
Yeah.
Yes, we have a great maintenance crew and all that, but let's help them. Let's go pick up trash. And we did that. We did that, and we're going to do that every year. We're going to help our freshmen move in, but we're gonna make sure we're helping protest stand. The stand is, hey, we want to have a nice campus, and so we're going to do our part to walk around campus and pick up trash. We had some guys that were kind of like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this, coach, and we had some guys that were like, hey, man, let's pick this up, let's get that. Some stuff we couldn't even pick up, and they were trying to pick up, and I commend those guys, and so we got that mentality of we want this to be our institution, our place, not, and I think that we want it to be nice. And so if we see something, let's go do something about it. So that's a form of protest to me, of, not standing for something that's average or mediocre. Let's go pick it up.
Mm. And going back to going back to COVID and you guys playing in the spring, there's optimism that that you guys will play fall sports in the spring. How crucial will it be to play without fans?
Well, I think that I've always believed that if you can ever compete to the standard every day, you bring a level of consistency, whether it's one person in the stand or 1,000 or 100,000. And when you start to develop your team like that, and you start to play like that, and you start to be that team like that, you become more of a championship type mindset. And I think the toughest thing for young men to do, because everybody wants to be seen and they want people to see them, but if you ever can get them to a level of consistency on the field when nobody's in the stands, you give yourself a chance. And so that's what you try to do and create at practice as much as you can. You try to do that and try to get them to bring out that internal fortitude and motivation to be able to go forth without having to have someone in the stands. Now, everybody loves for mama to come and see them. Some people struggle with that. Well, that's part of my job, to make them and help them become a man and help them become more passionate about what they're doing and less emotional. It's tough to say that. Some people say, well, bring your emotion. I want to bring your energy and your passion to the game, because there I can get consistency with the team and with the individual. I think, yes, it's an emotional game. It gets up and down, but the less emotional we can be, the more passionate we can be, the more consistency we can have. Passion supersedes the emotion part of it, because the emotion, we know I can feel good one minute, sad the next, happy the next, because something's going good, down the next. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so we try to make sure that we bring that passion, that consistency, and teaching a bunch of young men that we had more freshmen, and we played more freshmen in the conference than anybody last year.
Mm-hmm.
So having that opportunity to develop that part and that piece, we're going to continue to improve on that. We'll be a year older, obviously that'll help, but the the development part and not having somebody in the stands and being able to operate on a day-to-day basis as coaches, get them to go to another level. And that's big for me and my coaches. I tell them, hey, you coach the person more than you coach the player. Because at the end of the day, that person is going to be taking that helmet off. They're going to take those shoulder pads off. And they're going to not only walk in a classroom, they're going to walk in life. And how well did you coach them? We're all going to be held accountable for how we coach them as a coach.
And like you said that your team was young last year, I spoke to a season ticket holder for CAU football last year, and he said, you guys, as you know, you guys didn't win any games. He said last year was a year of transition due to a new head coach. The team being young, next year they will be better. Do you agree with that statement?
I believe it. I mean, I believe it wholeheartedly. I think that, when you look out there and we got 5 freshmen starting the offensive line, week in and week out, it makes it tough. But they'll be tested. That's one thing that's good. They'll still be young. We were playing against older teams that maybe more juniors and senior led teams. And we're in just about every football game. But a few. And I think that, I think 8 games we lost less than, I don't know what the score was, maybe 8-10 points or so. And we were in the football game. And most people say, man, I don't know how you did that with those freshmen. Coach, I would have pulled my hair out is what they, coach said. But I knew in the past they took a little bit more transfer JUCO. So guys were there 1 year and out. And so we wanted more retention with our student athletes. And we would, let's go build on the culture at CAU. Let's go change the culture that was there in that program to a culture where we developing them from the ground up and so forth. And have more freshmen in the program. Because when I first got there, and we had 3 offensive linemen to practice with when I got there in the program. We practiced in the spring with 3 offensive linemen. You got to have 5 to even, practice.
Yeah.
And so those are the things that we have built. Now we've at least got 12. So if there's, from year to next, now you got no less than 10. So and that's just, biting a bit and saying, you know what, we're going to take freshmen. And that's hard to do. And a lot of people won't do that because, they're concerned about their record. They're concerned about those things. But I'm interested in developing young men and developing a program. So we want CAU to be great long after Tim Bowens is gone. We want to make sure that we brought some young men in there who truly care about your program and that's going to spend some time in here and that's going to grow.
How would you rate your first season being a collegiate head coach from a scale of 1 to 10?
Okay, well, I think that, as you look at from the facet of you got to look at all the facets of it. How well did you grow spiritually in your team? How well did we move? Because we measure. I believe that you can measure and evaluate anything, and got to see how well did we grow mentally. What does that look like? How well did we grow academically? How well did we grow socially or relationally? How many young men that were disconnected from their fathers that we connected back to their fathers? How well did they grow financially? Did they learn? We do financial literacy in our program. How well did they grow physically? And we had some young men that came in our program, offensive linemen, they came in and we've put some weight on them. So we don't just measure it overall. Just say, okay, we were a 7, we were a 5. We look at one of those facets and see how well we grew in those. And in all those areas, we grew. I mean, we were better than when we got there. And so we measure it that way. I guess I'll leave that up to the people that watch the games because that's all they see. But, nobody sees that on average, they probably had about 12 or 13 guys that was over a 3.0 in football. I don't know what the average was, somewhere around there in the teens. And we had 37 in the fall and 41 in the spring, so you grew from that standpoint. We had a lot of young men that came in that we've taught, like I said, financial literacy to, and they've never heard things such as saving, budgets, spending, how you spend, prioritizing those things, and stocks. We try to make sure we teaching and developing a holistic person, and on the field, we've had tremendous gains as far as physically what our guys look like from year one. Coach Cook, Dr. Cook, has done an amazing job, our sports performance coach, of developing all of our student athletes. And so as we continue to get more sports performance and strength conditioning coaches in our program, I think you're going to see our play across the board in athletics elevate.
And like you said, in fall 2019, you had 37 scholars finish with a 3.0 GPA or higher. In the spring, you had 41 scholars finish the program with a 3.0 GPA or higher, including 4 players with a 4.0 GPA. And it seems like you like to create like a nice balance between developing the player on the field and developing the student athlete off of the field. How important is that for you to be a leader for these players on and off the field?
It's very important. I played at a university where I had a coach that poured into me both in both areas, physically and also as a person. The football part of me and also the personal part of me. So I think we've done a disservice if we don't do our part. And we have 4 goals in our program. Basically, number 1 is to graduate our young men. We want them to graduate, have a marketable degree so that they can go out in society and be successful, number 1. Second thing is we want them to be a champion in life. That means learn to give your best, do your best, and not only be a champion, but win championships. We want to do that as well. Our third thing, man, we want to make sure we are better people and we learn how to lead. We're trying to develop leaders. And the fourth thing is we want them to have fun and enjoy the CAU experience. So when we look at those things, we say, man, are we doing these things? Those are our goals. Now we operate in vision. We operate vision, meaning that, man, there's something set out in front of us. We're continuing to go toward every day. But on the journey to go into that, being a disciplined, successful, significant champion, leading, pursuing purpose, we want to reach those goals. And so as we reach those goals, those are milestones. When we see guys in our program that's graduating, that are moving on and going in life and saying, Coach, I need you as a reference. That's what it's about. We're going to win football games. That's going to happen. But we understand that we have a lot of young people right now, and we've got to develop that. And so, you want to reap the fruits of that labor. You want to reap that especially when it's a young crew, and we want to do it faster rather than later. Yes, we do. We want to make sure that we have to do it the right way. But as eloquent as one of my coaches said, he said, man, you put a pound cake in the oven, man, and your grandma used to tell you, don't be jumping around, and don't take it out too soon, because if you take it out too soon, that cake can flatten and not be right. So we want to make sure we do it the right way, the best way we know how. And we've all of us as coaches have played in some type of championship or coached in a championship or went to bowl games or playoffs and all that stuff. So we know what it takes. It's just a matter of developing these young men right now that are in our program.
And what necessary steps did you and your staff take to improve the team?
Well,
my bad. Aside from development, of course, what other steps did you guys take?
Well, I think that as you look at taking whatever, if you call them steps or whatever, like I said before, you always want to measure and evaluate where you are as a program. You want to see where your leaders are, because at the end of the day, you're going to go as far as they take you, as far as your guys take you. And you see how much development and growth that they're making in different areas in adversity. When adversity hits, even right now, when things hit, how are they handling it? How approaching it? How are they doing right now where they're at? What are they doing right now where they're at? And so what's their decision making right now? Because, we don't have an opportunity to see them on a day-to-day basis. Our coaches are in touch with them every day, and I get them on a team meeting twice a week right now. And I make phone calls, throughout the week, but, I don't get an opportunity to put my arm around them and say, hey, man, make sure you be class on time. I don't need to hear such and such say this or whatnot. Hey, man, hey, proud of. So I think that's the thing that we've got to, as coaches, like I said earlier, be creative as we can to make sure that we're reaching outside the box, getting them involved, getting them active in their community where they're at, but also being safe and being distance in the process.
What was the toughest adjustment for you from being a running back coach at Georgia State University to being a head coach at the collegiate level?
Well, I think, when I was at South Alabama. I was the pass game coordinator and the run game coordinator there, and with that comes some responsibility as well, and also just being a position coach comes some responsibility. And I've always handled my room, and I always tell coaches, handle your room as if you're the head football coach of your room. Make sure the vision of the visionary goes forward. Make sure that whatever the head coach wants or whatever the leader wants to get a message across, let's get that across. But also in the same breath, you be the head coach of your room. That means be the leader in your room. And so as you lead your room, treat it as if that's your team, within the team. So, but you never separate from the team. So if you treat it that way, and you see it that way, then you're preparing yourself way before you become a head coach. I think that, a lot of times people say, well, and there are things that come up that you don't experience or never experience as an assistant, as a college coach. But I think that putting myself in certain positions and doing certain things that head coaches have asked me to have responsibility or take responsibility in has helped me along the journey of, whether it's been helping with discipline or helping with character ed or helping with a lot of things that we even do in our program that I knew that, if I become head coach, then, we would do something this way or not that way and so forth. So I think that, you can learn how to be a head coach at what position you're in, because if you're just saying, well, I'm just a position coach, I'm just someone who's here. But if you try to do your best every day to approach it as if, all eyes are on me, what decision would I make? What would it look like? How do I make the best decision for this group? And what disciplines would a coach take for a program? And I always did that. I always took the approach of, we're going to have core values in our room, and we're going to, when trouble arises or things happen, well, we put it against the core values. Well, what does that look like? For us, trust, integrity, loyalty, and love, man. So we have an issue. Let's have something to lean back on that we can always say, all right, listen, this is what we got. And I did that as a position coach back then. And I remember a coach telling me one time, hey, man, you got to have a vision for your room. You got to have some direction for your room. If the head coach don't have an overall vision, then guess what? You need to have a vision for your room. And believe it or not, some coaches, they don't have a vision. They don't have a direction. And so I think that, as we as assistant coaches and me now as a head coach, it's my responsibility to make sure that I do all I can to help my assistant coaches develop as a coach so that they can one day be a head football coach.
Got you. And getting into the numbers of last season, you guys had a total of 228 rushing yards, which was the lowest since CAU started recording stats. Do you credit the O-line's youth and experience for these rushing totals, or is there another reason?
Well, yeah, mostly. I mean, that's what you have an offensive lineman. We led the conference in passing. We threw the football. We led the conference in passing touchdowns. Charles was number one overall yards. So that was what our strength was. We had a lot of 17-year-old guys that were going against 20-year-old young men. And so being able to run the football and physically not being developed made it tough. We didn't have young men that's going to be in our program right now that we had. We didn't have them. And so physically to ask we've had to move two defensive linemen actually, once injuries that moved over and played offensive line for us during the year. And that's, when you come to a program with only 3 linemen in the whole program to practice with, that you got your challenges. And so how do I make the best of it? Where can we gain the strengths? Where we're going to be strong at? What can we do? It wouldn't be fair to ask some of those running backs to be able to go in there and do some things with an offensive line that wasn't necessarily physically ready, and then ask those offensive linemen to physically do something they were not physically ready to do. Yeah, we practice it. Yeah, you develop it. But I think that, going forward, being a year older, we will be able to, we think that, a year in the weight room and a year of development, that we should be able to go forth and bring a better run game. And because I like to run the football. Even when I was a head coach in high school, we had 2 guys that basically rushed about 1,000 yards. And that's even though I was a receiver guy, but we ran the football, and we were the best rushing attack when I was head coach in that league and in that county.
Mm. And you touched on it that your offense was pass heavy, 23 touchdowns and 262.9 yards per game. But you guys led the conference in turnovers, had 15 interceptions and a total of 26 turnovers. How imperative is it for your team to be aggressive in the pass game while taking care of the football?
It's imperative. I mean, we got to take care of the football. One thing that's interesting about Charles last year, the young man had been in 4 offenses, back to back to back to back to back. He'd been in 4 offenses, and how do you go and have a lot of success when you've been in 4 different offenses 4 years in a row? That's tough. I mean, anybody. That's a tough deal to go into a season where you're taking a young man who's coming in and running an offense that he's never heard before, he's never executed before, and now you're running things and doing things totally different than what he's used to doing. And he really didn't hit his stride until probably midway through the season, to be honest with you, of really grasping what the offense was trying to get accomplished and where to go with the football. He was 50-50 early, but I saw him develop as a quarterback. You wished you had him for another year, because I think if you had him for another year, he would tear up the league.
Yeah.
That's just my personal opinion, but I think that, he was in offense at Albany State. Then they changed the offense. He was in another offense. Then he transferred to here. He was in another offense, and then changed up where he's in another. And so it's like the kids had to learn a lot of offense. And none of us had the same verbiage. None of us had the same terminology. None of us had the same plays. So what does that mean? You have to be very simplistic when you take your approach, but you want to be extremely efficient. And so, he made a lot of mistakes when it comes to that, but he also made a lot of plays as well. But I think that, we have to take right now, there'll be somebody else under the center this year. So we'll see that goes, and we'll try to develop them best we can. And even during this time, it's hard to get those things to them so they can go execute them and play do them where they're at. But we're going to try our best.
Gotcha. And with Charles graduating, who are the likely quarterbacks that will be competing for the number one job?
Well, we have a couple of young men on our campus right now that are going to be here. We've got one young man that deferred. He's going to be here in the spring. We've got a couple on campus. We have PJ Sanford. We have Eli Odom. We have Deshaun Curse, who's a young man that'll be coming in. He will be a junior. We have another young man coming in, a freshman, Skylar Adams. We have a young man that's coming in. Last name's Warren. So we've got quite a few guys that's going to be competing for that spot, and I like it because we're going to have about 7. I think there's about 7 guys that'll be able to come in there, and the person who is the most consistent, the person who makes the best decisions, the person who can move our offense, who can show that. Obviously, there's some guys that's actually have a year of at least throwing the ball in the offense or knowing how to get them in the right play, the right run game. They've been here a year, so they do have a little leg up. But if the person that's coming in that's new and they're able to execute, then we have to go with that person. But that's the exciting thing about coaching. You get to from and quarterback, we go as they go on offense. So I do feel good about it. I feel like how we approach things with Coach McClain and how he brings forth the offense. And he's offensive line coach. And heck, nobody wants to run the ball more than the offensive line coach. He's offensive coordinator, but you have to go to your strengths. Yeah. And I think we'll be stronger. We'll have some age on there that we didn't have last year. A young man that was supposed to be in our program, but he didn't get accepted in until later. And then one man who had to sit out, he's back. So for us, we thought we would have them last year, but we didn't. And so for us, that's a huge gain. And then another young man that was supposed to be in here the year before that didn't get accepted until this year, until the mid-year. And so we got those 3 guys that'll be here on our team, on our roster. They were actually here in the spring on campus before we even got out. So it was good to have them around in the month of January.
Well, whoever wins the quarterback competition, they'll have 2 stud receivers, Kendall Wimberly had 35 catches, 526 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Draker Jerry, who had 39 catches, 449 receiving yards, and 4 touchdowns. How excited are you about those two receivers?
Very excited. I think we got a good receiving core. We got, Corey King as well, Caleb Robeson. We got some other guys that are going to be able to come in. We got some newcomers. I think that we'll probably hear their name at some point that'll have to play. So we've got some guys, and those guys who've played a lot of ball for us and caught some touchdowns and caught some passes and made some plays for us. Those two guys, I think, finished in the top 5 in the conference in catching. So those guys have got some experience. They know how to play. They know how to get open. They know how to run the offense. They know what to do now. So sometimes you just do what your coach have told you to do, and now they're at that point where they understand past that why they have to do it now. So I think that's going to help us going forward. Obviously, not having the spring has made it a little bit difficult in fall, but we're going to try to continue to build on where we were.
And this touches on the running game or the lack thereof. Your team had the lowest time of possession in the conference with 26 minutes and 54 seconds. How important is it to you as a coach to dominate time of possession?
It's important. I think that the goal is to have the most points. That's what's important to me. That's the most important to me. I want to be able to run the football, period. But I want to make sure that we win the football game. What does that take? Does that take throwing it? Does that take running it? Whatever that takes to win it, does that take something on special teams for us to be an unbalanced approach and to be an unbalanced assault as far as how we in the special teams game? So whatever that takes, and I think that coaches of old say you got to have balance. You got to be half run, half pass. This much is the yards, this much is the run. And until we start doing the statistics as coaches, how do we get the W? How do you get the win? What does that look like? And so I think that whatever it takes to win the game, that's what you got to do. If it's out there pouring a monsoon, there's times where you might have to run the ball and pass a few passes. We're not there to get stats. We're there to win the football game. Sure. And I think that's where we are. And I got that. Listening to one of my mentors, Dabo Sweeney. He said, "Hey, man, we're here to run the football game. Yeah, we want balance. We want to have this, but if it took this to get it done, we're going to get it done that way." And so. Made me rethink a little thing, maybe rethink some things. We want that balance. We want to be able to run the football. We want to be able to pass it because I think ultimately now they've got to defend the whole field. They got to defend everything, and they can't just tee off on you. And that's part of throwing the ball around a lot. There's some risk in that at times. Especially with a young man that is not a Tom Brady that hadn't been in the offense a long time. Like a Tom Brady and so forth. We even see Tom Brady had to struggle his first game. It's a new deal for him, and I think he'll get going once he gets the thing rolling. Without a doubt, that's just the type of player he is in person. But I think that for us as coaches, we've got to make sure that as we develop in the run game, and we feel a lot better about going forth and how we attack in the run game because we'll be stronger. It's hard for me. It's hard for me to tell you or anybody else. If I asked you right now, could you go bench press 250 pounds? Could you?
Nope.
Why not? Have you prepared? You haven't prepared for it, right?
Right.
Exactly. So to ask them to come in there and go against guys that are 3-4 years older than they are, it's just not wise on our part. Or what do we do? To give ourselves a chance to win the football game at the end of the day. So, we believe that, like I said, we'll be much stronger, much bigger, faster, stronger. So we'll be able to do that. And then also not just how, those guys have worked in the program, but also how we've recruited. Now that we've got a balance with our roster a little bit, help out, we can take a little bit more older kid in our program.
Shifting gears to the defense, your team finished as the second worst in total defense in the conference, allowing 391.8 yards per game. What are ways you and your staff plan to change this next season?
Well, I think one that our defense coordinator, because of our process and getting them in, those coaches didn't even get in here until a week before we started practicing. That's tough. our offensive guys, they at least they had some recollection of the verbiage of terminology in the spring. Defensively, they got none.
Mm.
They got none until a week before they got. Well, actually, they didn't even get none of it until we started practicing in the fall. But the coaches didn't get assembled until a week before. Now that's what we were dealt. That's part of it. That's a challenge. But now we're here. We're all together. We've got some time in it. We all know it. We just brought on a new coach, but we got some that will be brought on with us. So we've got now some head knowledge of what to do, how to do it. Not only coach, but the player from the player perspective, because they've never heard of if we said the word Bama, they've never heard of Bama. Or if we said Georgia, they've never heard of Georgia before ever until the first day of fall camp, because we didn't have our players until, or actually the third day of fall camp, because we had all the other administrative stuff to do. So, we'll be much better, because at the end of the day, when I ask them why, I'll ask the player, why did you go there? Coach, I thought that, and I'm like, we don't even have that. That's not even part of what we do. That's what you did last year, or that's what you did maybe 2 years ago. I don't know what that is, So when you talk about transitioning over from a defensive perspective, and it's also about effort. It's about effort, and we're bigger now. I think that was our biggest deal as well. You look out there and you got a freshman at safety, you got a freshman at the corner, you got 3 linemen, defensive linemen. You look and you're like, oh my God, there's 3 freshmen out there. Coach, what are we doing? And there's a linebacker, freshman, and I'm sitting there like, look back at the bench and you say, that's it. Let's go, guys. Let's go.
Gotta compete.
You got to compete with them. And so for us, we didn't go back down from that. It is. We got to go. They're going to roll the ball out still, and we got to go play. So regardless if it's 3 D linemen that are freshmen there, and at one point we looked out there and there was 8 of them out there, and I looked at the bench and I was on the headset and I said, do we at least have a sophomore to put in the game? But that's what we were, and I don't mind that. But we're building it from the ground up, like I said, and so we're bigger. We're bigger than what we were. I think that's part of it. We got to stop the run better. We got to do a better job at stopping the run. That's point blank. I think that our guys have gotten bigger and they've gotten stronger. We got to continue to do that. We recruited a little bit bigger and stronger too. I think that's going to help us. We didn't have anybody. We may have had maybe one on the defensive line, a 300-pounder. I'm used to a little bit more than that, So, and we have about 5, 4 or 5 on that side of the ball. You don't want too many on that side of the ball, but because we got to be able to move, and so I think that I'm fired up about that. That's an excitement that we can build off of. Those guys will be, like I said, those guys will even up front on that side of the ball. They'll be a year older and they'll be stronger. We got linebackers. We used to playing in one type of defense, and now you shifted from an even front type to more of an odd front type defense. So learning how to play that, and a lot of times you just go ask the kid, why did you go fill that gap? And they'll say something. You're like, I've never heard of that. Like, that's not even what we do, And so, trying to get those things, and because what happens is if you got, some people can teach it from what they're used to or what they were in back then, but now it's a totally different type of deal. So, that's part of transition. And then also when those coaches got in, made it tough, made it double tough when it came to teaching them the defense itself. So now, like I told our coaches and I tell our players, hey guys, no excuses. I don't want to hear that we were not there because of this. We don't need those words anymore. They don't even mean anything to you, because they may have meant something to you last year and you heard them again. That's out of our vocabulary, So, I can deal with if somebody's just better than we are. And like I said before, we were in a lot of football games. We were in a lot of those games. Just didn't finish. We didn't finish them offensively or defensively or special teams. We're right there. And so I'm like I said, we recruited a couple of guys that I think are going to help us make a difference up front from a defensive perspective.
We're at the home stretch. Who are some players you feel make the biggest leap on the field next season?
Well, we've got quite a few. I think we got quite a few. I'm looking for Andre Felder to really step up. I think he's a defensive lineman. I think Burks, Elijah Burks, offensive lineman, started for us as a true freshman last year. Miles Flowers, who started for us as a true freshman at center last year. I look forward to him picking it up. Like I said, the receivers, all four receivers that I named, and some of those young ones that's coming. I think so. Trey Wilson, who played tight end, inside receiver for us, he'll be a senior this year. I'm excited about seeing him excel to another level. I think he's got some really good potential there. Defensively, I think that, when you look at, like I said, Dre Felder was one. Our linebacker core, we lost a couple of guys I think that could run and they could play for us a little bit. So now we got a lot of young guys that are going to be in there. So we'll see where that's at. Our secondary, we lost two safeties. Kenneth Morgan, who's probably one of the most influential on that side of the ball. So we've got some young safeties to develop there. We got some corners that got some time that's been out there on the field. I'm excited about Mustafa Majid. Mustafa, I think, is going to be a definitely somebody that we can see on the field making plays for us. Just having him for a few plays in the spring, watching him be able to run around, he did some good things running around. Also defensively, I think that we've got some guys that run to the football pretty good, and we just got to develop them to know, get them to know why they're getting that, why they're getting to the ball that way. Up front, we got, like I said, we got some incoming guys that some freshmen and some transfer guys up front that's going to make a difference. I can't name any of the freshmen transfers right now because they're yet to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
But the transfer guys, I think I'm looking forward to seeing some of those guys get out there on the field as well. We've got a couple guys that are in grad school that are going to play for us this year. Offensive lineman Max Williams, I think he's going to be good. E.J. Hurley, offensive lineman, you're going to see him. Those guys have got some age on them. From the standpoint of special teams, I mean, we got a guy that's returning back to our team that didn't play with us last year, Carlos Saldonia. You got Fernando Lobo's coming back. He was a true freshman as a kicker. Jeffrey did a good job of for the most part, snapping for us, and he's also playing some tight end. So Jeffrey Abril. So you gotta, I'm excited about all across the board. It's hard to name a name, to be honest with you, because we're unseen. We're unknown. Last year they were just figuring out how to tie the shoes and do it the right way. So we're looking forward to them all developing.
Who are some players that display exceptional leadership and character off the field?
Well, Briante Glover, I think, and he's one of the ones that I think that you're going to hear his name. I didn't mention Briante, but Briante Glover, I think he's got the ability to be a conference player. He's going to be a grad school player. I think Briante Glover has shown some leadership. Mustafa has shown some leadership. Travis Taylor, God, I forgot about Travis Taylor. I think Travis Taylor, he transferred to us from Georgia State. He was not able to play last year, had to sit out last year. He was another young man we were expecting to be able to have on the field, was not on the field. Some of these guys were all on the sideline. They didn't get to play. They were older, but they were on the side. They didn't play. They were in our program. They were around, expecting them to be out there, and they couldn't, for eligibility or whatever the purpose may be, whatever the reason may have been, were not able to be a part. So we get all of those guys on the field this year, which is good. Travis Taylor, he's a defensive guy for us. I'm excited about him being able to come on defense, what we call a spur position, which is kind of like a Sam linebacker or a nickel type player. So we're excited about him as well.
What is the lasting impact you want to leave for CAU football?
Well, we want to make sure that when we leave this program that we've made a difference, and we've been agents of change, and not just from a coach's perspective, but also our players, and that we've changed the dynamics on campus to where, when they see our guys, they see a student athlete, a student first. And they know that not only that, but they've been in a program who've developed their players in every facet of life. Not only that, but also that we've been victorious on the field as well. And in doing it in some ways that that we may have some challenges that other people may not have to face, and understand that we're able to overcome those challenges and know that, hey, just because we don't have what they have in sense of certain things, but you know what, we have heart, we have grit, we have those things, we have vision, we have direction, and we want to leave that. And so we want to make sure that when we leave there, it's better than when we got there. So when people walk in that building, they be a part of that program, they see that, there's a balanced roster. The facilities are up to par. Not only that, but man, academically, they've handled their business. And man, it'd be ready for the taking, So we want to definitely leave that legacy, and the legacy is going to live on through those young men. Nobody's going to remember how many yards they caught a pass for, how many tackles they made, but the lasting legacy of how they were on campus with the professors, with their teachers, and with everybody else on campus, and those who played their tails off, and that when people see them, they're a relentless football team. They play mentally and physically tough. They're ball hawks. They take care of the football and they go get it, and that they're accountable, which is big to me. And then that they do those things. And so those are characteristics and things that we'll leave behind that people should be able to see when we leave our legacy.
And last question, what are some goals for yourself and CAU football?
Well, goals for myself, ultimately at the end of the day, I want to personally be the best version of me that I can be. I'll start there. But I also want to make sure that I have given my all, pour myself out into these young men. That's a goal that I have every single day, is empty myself out. So when I leave this earth, I'm empty. And so that's a goal for me, that we've developed this program, and that we did it the right way. And that's a goal for me, to make sure that I be the best right here where I'm at, be where my feet are at, through every challenge, through every victory, through everything that's before us. All I can do is be where my feet are. And I want my coaches to do the same thing. Every one of my coaches had an opportunity possibly to go somewhere else. And even through a season that we had, they all stayed. And it's not because of, the pay. It ain't because of that, but it's because we feel that we have unfinished business, and we feel that the culture that we've established within the program is where it should be and how it should be. And these guys all could have left. All of them had opportunities, but they said, "Coach, we got unfinished business, and we want to continue to build on this program, and also continue to establish the culture that we want to have, and that's a culture of communication, a culture of unity, a culture of team together. Our effort, our attitude, we'll be able to move mountains. A culture of faith, family, football takes care of itself, having fun, and having a mindset of victory. That's our culture. That's what we want to establish and leave behind. And those are my goals. We want to do things in this program.
Got you. And I have no more questions. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, I hope you were able to get enough. And I look forward to reading all your other articles, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
And we'll let us know if we can help you in any way, and come down and see us, okay?
Yes, sir.
Got some guys I probably can hook you up with in the city that do what you're doing.
Yes, sir. I would love to that opportunity.
Come by and see me at the office, okay?
Got you. And I'll wear a mask too. Thank you.
Wear your mask. You know how to get me. And come by, and I'm big on career development and helping people get to the next level in life, whatever that is. So we do that with our players. We try to make sure that they got career opportunities, and we put people before them that literally are ready to hire them. And we've been doing that. We've actually got about 3 or 4 guys that they already got hired. So I'm big on that, because at the end of the day, it's about networking. It's about helping our brother.
Yes, sir.
And those that's connected to me as best I can. So if I got connections, and if you exemplify yourself good and right, then I'm going to do all I can to help you. So come see us down there. Be a regular. come down and do interviews, and we even try to help with some players and stuff down there.
Yes, sir. I will. Thank you so much.
We'll get an ad involved.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
All right, man. Take care.
You too.